Thank you, Presiding Officer. There's always a benefit in reviewing with a critical eye the regimes that govern our work here in Parliament and the work of individual members. The proposals put forward in the bill before us today seek to improve public accessibility of information reported by MSPs, allowing for public scrutiny to be effective. It will also ensure that a wide range of parliamentary sanctions are available, and it broadens the definition of the serious criminal offence of paid advocacy. At present, due to partial overlaps in the reporting requirements in MSPs under the Parliament's Registers of Interests and the Political Parties Elections and Referendums Act of 2000, otherwise PEPERA, certain financial interests must be reported to both the Electoral Commission and the Parliament. That's dual reporting. The PEPERA requirements are defined in terms of donations for political activities, which includes parliamentary activities, whereas the Parliament is interested solely in financial interests that could be perceived to influence MSPs in carrying out their parliamentary duties. The two regimes have different criteria for registration, which can make the system complex. There are two separate complaints processes, depending on whether an MSP is reported to the Electoral Commission or to the Standards Commissioner for failure to register a financial interest. The committee believes that removing dual reporting will provide for simpler reporting requirements for financial interests overall for MSPs and greater transparency and accountability to the public than is the case at present. This will make details of MSPs' financial interests more transparent, as they were more easily accessible in a single place on our Parliament's website. The means of pursuing a complaint in relation to financial interest will also be streamlined for the public. The bill makes the necessary adjustments to the categories of registrable interest to enable the Electoral Commission to draw all the information they need from the Parliament's register. When dual reporting ends, the Standards Commissioner will take on sole responsibility for investigating breaches of those PEPERA requirements currently investigated by the Electoral Commission, which this bill will incorporate into our revised register of categories. This will broaden the Commissioner's remit and simplify the process for the public, one place for direct complaints. On another matter, the Group of States Against Corruption, GRECO, published the report in 2013, which recommended that consideration be given to lowering the current thresholds for registering gifts. At present, members must register gifts over the value of 1% of a member's salary at the start of the parliamentary session. That makes the current figure £570. The qualification is that it does exclude gifts that don't meet the prejudice test, for example, gifts between members of the MSP's family. Other jurisdictions have lower levels of registration. The House of Commons is going to £300, House of Lords is going to £140, and in Northern Ireland it's £240. With these developments in mind and the desire to increase the transparency of members' interests in this place, the committee decided to include a measure in this bill to lower the threshold for registering gifts. The bill will reduce the threshold for registering gifts to 0.5% of a member's salary, rounded down to the nearest £10 at the beginning of the current parliamentary session. That would presently be £280. Now, let me turn to paid advocacy provisions. Paid advocacy is where an individual uses their position as an MSP to advocate a particular matter in return for payment, including a benefit in kind, or to urge any other MSP to do so. It is a criminal offence and a breach of the Interests Act for an MSP to undertake paid advocacy. As I have stated in previous debates, we first debated the subject in April this year, no MSP has ever been found to be in breach of the paid advocacy provisions. The committee is very clear, given the gravity with which paid advocacy should be treated, that there is a case for increasing the scope of the criminal offence. To that end, the bill amends the existing paid advocacy offence for greater consistency with the Bribery Act of 2010. The paid advocacy offence currently requires actual receipt of an inducement by an MSP or an MSP's partner, where this results in some benefit to the MSP. But the Bribery Act 2010 goes further than this. It does not require an individual to actually receive inducements in order to commit an offence, but only to agree to receive such inducements. The committee considers that if an MSP is found to have agreed to undertake advocacy for financial gain or to have encouraged a fellow MSP to do so, they should be considered guilty of an offence regardless of whether the inducements have actually been received. During the Stage 1 debate, Tavish Scott asked me whether this would cover a scenario where a member requests an inducement for advocating a cause. I took the opportunity to amend the bill at Stage 2 to put beyond doubt that this scenario too should be covered by the paid advocacy offence, and we amended it at Stage 2. I move the motion that stands in my name that the interests of members of the Scottish Parliament Amendment Bill be passed.